Thank you. Good evening, students. Welcome to the problem solving session. We've had wonderful problem sessions in the past two sessions, and we'll be continuing that. Today we have a different environment at the background. Don't mind it. There's some problems with the background screen. So let's say you have a better greener space now. We could discuss things in a more lively manner. Today we'll also discuss on what are the examination ways to handle it. I'll also suggest some tips on what is to be read so that you're prepared for the exam. And sorry. अभी ठीक है? Okay. So today we'll discuss on what is basically few more problems, what we have left from the last session, and we'll discuss on other things. So if you have any queries, like I had suggested last time, if you had some queries you could put in, so we could discuss in detail. We'll go through the provisions and we'll discuss it. So I see that Mr. Muthukumar has had some queries. I'll answer those first. For hospitals, the GST is exempted or not. Whether the GST will be applicable cases, what are the factors while include while levy the tax on hospitals? For clinic and hospitals is different from GST law. How the GST provisions are applied to in this scenario? Okay, so in terms of hospitals, recently we have seen with effect from July, there is a change in the GST on hospitals. Basically, there is no GST on hospitals, but if you are taking a room which is a luxurious room, then GST applies. But for your relevant examination of November 2022, there is no change. So GST is exempted from your perspective. So whatever we have discussed on exemptions for what is taxable is the pharmacy. So the pharmacy, if it is selling, so the answer to your question is pharmacy. Yes, pharmacy. इंटरनेट स्टेबल नहीं है, फ्लक्चुएट हो रहा है. ओके 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 सर अभी कैसे हैं? ओके ठीक है, मैं जोर से बोलता हूँ. Yes, Muthu Kumar. So we were on your question. So your question on healthcare industry, whether it is exempted. Yes, healthcare industry is exempted. Our clinics sell medicines. So on the pharmacy products and medicines, it is still taxable. Mr. Jagjeet Singh, your question is how to join classes from day one. We are at the last class of this topic. So we are already concluded. So you can see the video recordings, what is there in the Board of Studies. On the Board of Studies portal, you'll get to know on when the next session starts so that you can join the live classes. And the recorded classes are always available. And Karthik Gupta, yeah, your question on question number 20, rate applicable is, let's go to question number 20 because you have a specific question on question number 20. because your question on Rule 44 was very much relevant. So here, the answer what you're referring is 1,26,000 or 1,35,000. Rate applicable is 18% into machinery purchased on 6th July. Okay. Machine purchase price 10 lakhs. Correct. 10 lakhs into 18% is 1,80,000 sold on 18/10/2018. Value of supply is rupees 6 lakhs. GST on transaction value is 1,08,000 as per section 18(6). In case of supply of capital goods of plant and machinery on which input tax credit has been taken, the registered person shall pay an amount equal to the input tax credit taken on the said capital goods of plant and machinery reduced by such percentage points as may be prescribed, computed in working notes, or through the tax on the transaction value of the capital goods determined under section whichever is higher. Correct. A working note is Rule 42 says that the amount of credit in case of supply of capital goods or plant and machinery for the at the rate of 5 percentage points for every quarter are part thereof from the date of issue of invoice for such goods. The prescribed amount is number of quarters, which is 6 quarters. Amount to be reduced is 1,80,000 into 5% into 6, which is 54,000. Reducing input tax credit, you get 1,26,000. Rule 44(6) says that the amount of input tax credit, the amount of input tax credit relating to capital goods shall be determined in such manner as may be specified. And the amount shall be determined separately for input tax credit of central tax, state tax, unit tax, and integrated tax, and the provisional tax. Okay. The amount determined shall form part of the output tax liability and shall be furnished in Form GST-L1. And as per Rule 44(b), for capital goods held in stock, the input tax credit involved in the remaining useful life in months shall be computed on pro rata basis, taking the useful life as 5 years, which is as follows. Remaining useful life, taking total useful life as 5 years. Okay. You cannot take it on the basis of number of months. You should take it on the basis of quarters. So what we have done is what is there is for section 18 as well as Rule 44. So you have to consider this working as the final because we are going. Okay. अभी कैसे हैं? अभी ठीक है सर, या फिर मैं इसको निकाल दूं? अभी ठीक है, ओके ठीक है. स्क्रीन भी शेयर है ना? ओके. So, sorry for the network issues. Karthik Gupta, your question, you have reproduced the section and the rule. Thank you very much. So, based on the section and the rule, this is the working which we have to do, which is to write. Good evening, Sneha Gupta. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, Mr. Yasa, your question is, in last class, you have answered to my question in case of furnishing IFF, but not TMT06 for second month. The interest will be calculated on net liability. That interest will be calculated on gross liability, but in analysis of section 3, why net liability has been returned. Okay. So, see, in section 50, when you see the interest is on net liability, which means whatever you pay through your cash is what you have to pay, not through your credit ledger. Because whatever is credit, you already have it, so you pay interest on the net liability. But your question was, if I furnish, in case of furnishing of IFF, but not PMT06. So, can you please repeat your question? Yeah, Mr. Karthik Gupta, is your query resolved now? So section rule 44 and rule 40 and section 18 are coexistent. So this is what is to be followed. Yeah, just give me 5 minutes, students. There are some queries from certain specific students. Let me answer that. Yeah. Ms. Shreyasha, I got a question. I am case of not furnishing details in IFF and PMT 06 for first month in QRNC, the interest on delayed payment of tax will be calculated on gross liability. In case of furnishing details in IFF, but not PMT 06 for second month, the interest will be calculated on net liability. Okay. So IFF is an optional thing. IFF, if you furnish it, then the receiver can get the credit. If you don't furnish it, then the receiver does not get the credit. So that's the feature of IFF. Now, if I made the payment, then it is correct. If I don't make the payment, the interest will always be on net liability. Okay, because section 50 says is the interest computation section, which says how the interest has to be calculated. So the interest will always be on net liability, not on gross liability. Clear? Okay. So let's proceed with the questions for the day. Now we'll start with question number 30 till 29. We have completed in a previous session. Now we'll start with question number 30. Question number 30 is the help of the following information in the case of Giant Enterprises State Group Rajasthan for the financial year, determine the aggregate turnover for the purpose of registration. Okay, so we have to determine the aggregate turnover because you would have read in the registration chapter what is the importance of aggregate turnover. Okay, what is the importance of aggregate turnover? What all is included in the turnover that is to be considered so that whether to register or no will be decided. So what are the particulars given? Sale of diesel on which sales tax is levied by the Rajasthan government. What is the value? 1 lakh rupees. Export to England, 5 lakh rupees. Supply to its own additional place in Rajasthan is 5 lakh rupees. Outward supply on which GST is to be paid by the recipient under reverse charge is 1 lakh rupees. All the above amounts are excluding GST. You are required to provide reasons for treatment of various items given above. Assumptions you make, and then you have to provide your answer. Very small question, but very important to understand the determine the turnover. What is the meaning of aggregate turnover? Okay, getting answers already. Name and Rafiq Bhai, Ms. Name and Rafiq Bhai is saying it is 11 lakhs. Any other answers? Okay, Hitesh Jain is saying 6 lakhs. Mr. Bharat is saying 11 lakhs. Yeah, Mr. Yasha, your statement is correct. Question number 30, aggregate turnover is 12 lakhs. Akash Neej is saying 12 lakhs. Hitesh Jain is saying 6 lakhs. Menaka Kumar is saying 11 lakhs. Somesh Karant is saying 11 lakhs. As RCM will not form part of the turnover. Kartik Gupta is saying 7 lakhs. Exempt supply also included. Exports also included. Own additional place is not registered within the same state. So no supply. Inward supply of RCM is not included. Okay. Multiple cancers. Aggregate turnover includes exempt supply. Ms. Menaka Kumari is saying down. Ms. Khushi Kantari is saying 6 lakhs. So let us dwell this in detail now. Yeah. So first is sale of diesel. Sale of diesel. Sale of diesel on which VAT is levied by the Rajasthan government. Presently, GST is not leviable on petrol products and hence sub-supply is non-taxable supply. We are clear with it. But the definition of exempt supply, there is a definition of exempt supply which says exempt supply includes non-taxable supply. Okay, so aggregate turnover includes exempt supply and this non-GST, non-leviable is also included in exempt supply. So this is treated as aggregate turnover. We are clear with it. Second, export supply to England. On export supply, there is no GST. However, it is includable in annual aggregate turnover, right? So this is included. We are clear on this. Third point, supply to its additional place of business. Assessee is located in Rajasthan. The additional place of business is also in Rajasthan. Supply made without consideration to units within the state, unless it is separately registered, is not a supply. And hence, this is not includable. Clear? So, within state, because they mentioned it has an additional place of business, they have not said they have taken a separate registration. So, since they have not given that it is not separately registered, you can give this assumption what you go for about it, saying the additional place of business also in Rajasthan, supply made without consideration to units within the same state, unless separately registered. So this is important. Unless separately registered, then it will not be unless separately registered. It's what we are considering. That this is not separately registered. So this is not separately registered. It is treated as part of one unit. So this will not be included. Okay. Then fourth part is outward supply to which GST is to be paid by recipient under reverse charge. Okay. Now aggregate turnover includes all supplies by suppliers, irrespective of whether they are subject to forward charge or reverse charge. Now, even though on reverse charge, the other person will pay, but it is a turnover for us. So few people have not included this, but this has to be included. So this turnover on which GST is to be paid by the recipient is still my turnover. Okay. So this has to be included, but supply to additional place of business need not be included. So the correct answer is aggregate turnover for the purpose of 7 lakhs. Only one person had given this answer correctly. So 7 lakhs is what is the aggregate turnover. Now additional points which is not required, but I'm just giving you if they ask any other question is the applicable threshold for registration for units located in Rajasthan is 40 lakhs. So if they are traders in goods, then it is 40 lakhs turnover. So this person's limit is below 7 lakhs, so he's not liable to pay GST. Is that the case? No. Second point is, though the aggregate turnover is not exceeding 40 lakhs, but since he is engaged in exports, which are interstate supplies, so if you make any interstate supplies, then the registration limit will not be applicable, so you will have to register it. Okay. So if they ask you a question, decide the aggregate turnover and decide whether he has to apply for registration. You'll mention his aggregate turnover is below the threshold limit, but since he's making exports, exports are treated as interstate supplies and he will have to take registration. Okay. Here on 7 lakh. Yes, Kartik Gupta, your answer is right. Not 11 lakhs. A lot of people had given 11 lakhs, but it is not 7 lakhs. Any questions in this? Please write this down. This is a very important question because you'll understand what all should be included in aggregate turnover. Clear, Somesh. Very nice. Karthik Gupta, you are also clear. Stage Jane, clear. Point 3 has separate registration or no? Next, Pooja, if they have not mentioned that it is separately registered and they have clearly mentioned it is an additional place of business, which means that it is not separately registered. I think 11 lakhs would be right. Correct. So if you assume that it is additional place, then they wouldn't have mentioned additional place. They have mentioned a separate registration. Since you mentioned additional place, it means that they have included in the same registration. So your understanding on the registration topic is relevant here. If they have taken the same registration, then it will be called as an additional place, not separate. Okay, let's go to the next question now. I'm getting your answers, your questions a little delayed manner. That's why I'm waiting for it. No RCM as it's on outward supply and not on purchase, right? No RCM as it's on outward supply and not on purchase, right? Correct. So there's no purchase, there's only outward supply on which receiver has to pay the GST, but it is included in my aggregate turnover. Okay. It is included in my aggregate turnover, even though I don't have to pay GST. Question number 31. Rajesh Dynamics, having its head office in Chennai, carries on the following activities with the respective turnover, the following turnovers in the financial year. Okay. Question number 30, there's a practical question. So can you clear a practical aspect in this point? That is, if the person is taking separate registration within the same state, so while filing the form, will he take both the separate addresses as principal place of business? Yes. So he will take both the places as principal place of business. So if I have place A, then this is my principal place. If I take a separate registration of place B, then the place B, that address will be the principal place. So there will be two principal places. It is not per state, it is per registration basis. So if you have one registration, you'll have one principal place. If you have another registration, you'll have a separate principal place for that. Okay. Now, Rajesh Dynamics, having its head office in Chennai, carries on the following activities with the respective turnovers in a financial year. Supply of petrol at Chennai, the value is 36 lakhs. Value of inward supply on which tax is payable on a reverse charge basis, 18 lakhs. Supply of transformer oil at Chennai, which is again with industry supply, value is 4 lakhs. Value of taxable supplies at Bangalore branch, 26 lakhs. It argues that it does not have to take, does not have a taxable turnover crossing the threshold limit of 40 lakhs, either at Chennai or branches. So this side, based on the above facts, what is the aggregate turnover of Rajesh Dynamics? And what is you have to decide all conditions that fulfill the requirements of registration in the given circumstance. So first, decide what is the aggregate turnover, similar to our previous question. First is to decide the aggregate turnover, then decide whether registration is required or again varied answers here. Once you are giving answer of 62 lakhs, Ritesh saying 62 lakhs, Pooja S 66 lakhs, Menaka Kumari 66 lakhs. Inward supply under reverse charge is not a part of aggregate turnover, right? That is right. Since in the previous question we have seen the supplier who is supplying anything on which reverse charge is applicable, it will be included in the aggregate turnover of the supplier, not of the receiver. Fine. So your aggregate turnover answers you're saying, but based on your aggregate turnover, do you think registration is required or no? Ms. Khushi is saying it is 48 lakhs. Many of you are giving an answer of 66. Come on, others who are not answering, answer this very interesting question. Based on what we have done, that understanding itself, nothing special in this. So turnover is 66 lakhs and is required to register, even not crossing. Somesh Karib, your answer is perfect. Reasoning for 1 and 2 is different. Many of you are giving the reason that the aggregate turnover is crossing the limit, so you have to register. Apart from that, there is an important factor which you need to highlight. Okay, let's start first decide what is the aggregate turnover. Supply of petrol at Chennai, even though it is non-taxable turnover, being a non-taxable supply, it is an exempt supply and thus includable in the aggregate turnover. Okay. Supply of petrol definitely includable in the aggregate turnover. Then value of inward supplies on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. Inward supplies does not constitute turnover of the receiver. These being not his supply. Okay. So inward supply does not constitute turnover of the receiver. So mention the supplier. Because these are not his supplies, this will be aggregate turnover of the supplier. Supply of transformer oil at Chennai. This is a taxable good, so definitely this will be included. Then this part, value of taxable supplies of Bangalore branch presumed to be an intrastate supply. Why is it presumed as intrastate? Because the supply at Bangalore branch is to be included. So the total turnover, aggregate turnover is 66. Okay. Aggregate value of taxable supplies at Bangalore branch is 26 lakhs. So this is included. So aggregate turnover is 66 lakhs. Validity of the argument as to threshold 40 lakhs not being processed at either place of business. What he is saying is 26 lakhs is in Bangalore, and for my Chennai, your aggregate turnover is 40 lakhs. So I'm not crossing 40 lakhs in Chennai, and I'm not crossing 40 lakhs in Bangalore, so I don't have to register. But that is not correct. The aggregate turnover means the aggregate turnover at all India level. So which is 60 lakhs. Rajesh Dynamics is liable to register in Chennai, also in Bangalore, as his aggregate turnover is exceeding 40 lakhs. However, of 40 lakhs is not being crossed at Chennai or Bangalore is not correct, since his aggregate turnover is calculated on all India basis, on not state basis. Liability to take GST registration, Rajesh Dynamics has been compulsory required to register, since irrespective of the turnover, in this case, he's crossing the turnover limit, but had he not crossed the turnover limit, still he would be required to register, as he is liable to pay tax on inward supplies under reverse charge. This turnover of reverse charge, once he incurs this, okay, a reverse charge person will have to take GST registration and pay. So that's the reason. Irrespective, your answer should not only say that his turnover was more than 40 lakhs, so he has to register. Apart from this turnover, his inward supply, which is liable to ask him to pay this, he has to register. Okay. Yeah. So inward supply is not a part of turnover. Okay. One, apart from the answer, the reasoning why you give for your answer is also important. The aggregate turnover, most of you have given it correctly. Somesh Karat said that even not crossing 40 lakhs, they are also required as section 24. Very right. Raghavan, your answer is also right. 66 lakhs. Why we are presuming to be intrastate? Because if Bangalore branch is making an interstate supply, then compulsory register. Okay, we are assuming it's an intrastate, so that the turnover of all states is to be included. If he's making an interstate, then we'll tell that since Bangalore branch is making an interstate supply, they will definitely register. So then that reasoning will be different. To avoid that reasoning, we are saying that it is making an intrastate supply, but the aggregate turnover is exceeding 40. Clear? Let's go to the next question. Question number 32. Mr. Vicky Frank consideration from Shiv Bhavan Publication, which is located in Indore. Now, first is Vicky Franklin is an unregistered author. He received 3 crores of consideration from Shiv Bhavan Publication, which is located in Indore for supply of services by way of temporary transfer of copyright covered under section 13(1)(a) of the Copyright Act. relating to original literacy work of his new book. He finished his work and made available the book to the publisher, but he has not yet raised the. Okay. Now, Mr. Vicky Franklin is of the view that SPP, which is the share power publication, is liable to pay tax under reverse charge on services provided by him. SPP, however, does not concur with the view and is not ready to deposit the tax under any circumstances. Examine whether the view of Mr. Vicky Franklin is correct. Further, if the view of Mr. Franklin is correct, what is the recourse available with Mr. Vicky Franklin to comply with the further if the view of SB if the view of SBP is correct, then what is the recourse available with Mr. Vicky Franklin to comply with the requirement of GST law, as the SBP has completely refused to deposit the tax? Definitely, this question is related to reverse charge, and they've given some section reference also. Examine what is the relevance of that section and how is it relevant for calculating GST thereafter. Okay. No answers. So this is a theoretical answer. First is the view of Mickey Franklin is correct. Why is it correct? Two high-banded getting answers now. Mickey Franklin is correct with respect to SBP being liable to pay tax under RCM for services received from Mr. Vicky. If SBP completely refuses to pay tax, then Mr. Vicky can pay the tax under forward charge. Your answer is correct, Akashi. GST is payable under reverse charge in case of supply of services covered by an author by way of transfer or permitting the use or enjoyment of a copyright which is covered under section 13(1) of the Copyright Act relating to original literacy work located in a taxable territory in terms of reverse charge notification. So you just have to mention that it is liable to GST under reverse charge. Reverse charge notification is simple, notification number 13 of 2017. So you could just reference of that. Then, therefore, in the given case, person liable to pay tax is the publisher, which is SBP. However, since SBP has completely refused to deposit the tax on the given transaction, Mr. Vicky Franklin has an option to pay the tax under forward charge on the same. For the purpose, he needs to fulfill the following conditions. What he has to do, since he is unregistered, he has to first take the registration and he needs to file a declaration that he exercises the option to pay GST on the said services under forward charge and to comply with all the provisions as they apply to a person liable. So it's not that he registers the GST and he does not do any other compliances. Once he registers it, then all other compliances will fall in place. So he will have to do all other compliances. And he shall not withdraw the said option within a period of 1 year from the date of exercising such option. Okay. Thirdly, he has to make a declaration on the invoice which he would issue to SBP because SBP should be aware that he has discharged the tax on their behalf. So generally, the receiver who is liable to pay GST will have to pay it. But in case if he refuses to pay, then the supplier has to pay and make a declaration to that extent. Correct. Great. Shreya Shah, Karthik Gupta, Somesh Karan, all of you have given correct answer. Okay, no questions on this. So the next one, question number 33. Ms. Chancel started providing beauty and grooming services and inaugurated Care and Care Beauty Centers in Janakpuri, Delhi on 1st of April. She opted to pay tax under Section 10(2)(a) in the said financial year. The aggregate turnover of Care and Care Beauty Care for the quarter ending on 30th June was 20 lakh. Further, for the half year ending on 30th September, the turnover reached rupees 50 lakh. Care and Care Beauty Center recorded a rapid growth and the turnover reached 70 lakhs by the end of October. Okay, so this we have done it. Very simple question. Determine the total tax liability of Care and Care Center by the end of October 2020. Then second option is Care and Care opted wishes to opt for composition scheme under 10(1) from the next financial year. You are required to advise whether it can be done. So rate of GST applicable on such services is 18%. So you are first determine the total tax liability and decide whether they can opt for composition under 10(1). Okay, Mr. Karthik Gupta, your question is, sir, if there was any other supplier for say an unregistered artist, then in such case, if the music company or anything else in such case which is registered, if the latter denied to issue the invoice, then what would be the consequence? As an artist doesn't have such option like authors to get registered and make declaration on the invoice. So artist does not have an option. So the liability will all be on the receiver. So if the receiver doesn't discharge, the supplier does not have any option. He can just issue his invoice and get the payment, but the liability will always be on the receiver. If the receiver does not pay, then the supplier can pay. But in other cases, we can't do so. Ms. Vika, what are the non-taxable territories there in example? Which example? Ms. Pooja, whether forward or reverse charge, the burden of tax is on the recipient only. No, Pooja, the important question in this 32, question number 32 is the author. Reverse charge mechanism under author providing services to a publisher is the publisher is liable to pay the GST. But if there is a note which is mentioned there that if the publisher does not pay the GST, then the author has to pay the GST by giving a note in the declaration in the registry. So that option is there only in case of a author and publisher, not in case of other arts and services. Okay. So she can't register for composition. Everybody is giving the answer correctly that she can't opt for composition for registration since her turnover since 10.1 is for goods and not for services. So that is one point. And second is her turnover limit is crossing 50 lakhs in this year. So next year she can't opt for composition because for the condition to opt for composition scheme, your turnover should be less than 50 lakhs of the previous. Okay. Let us see the workings for this. Care and Care Beauty Center. Section 10(2)(a) provides an option. First of all, whether she is registered, when she started her business on 1st April, she had opted to pay tax under 10(2)(a). Okay. She's opted for that at that time itself. And under 10(2)(a) provides an option to register person to pay tax at 3%. Nobody has given me an answer. What is the tax liability? Yeah, few people are giving that. Puja P, other than author and publisher, it is not true in other cases. Only in case of author and publisher, that option is for marginal supply along with services. No, 10(2)(a) is only for supply of services. So this is a provision of 10(2)(a). 10(2)(a) provides an option to a registered person to pay CGST at 10%, which means 3% CGST and 3% SGST. Effective rate is 6% on first supplies of goods or services up to an aggregate turnover of 50 lakhs made on or after 1st April in any financial year subject to conditions. First supplies of goods or services are both shall for the purpose of determining eligibility of person to pay tax include the supplies from 1st April of the financial year to the date on which it becomes liable for registration, but for the purpose of determining of tax payable shall not include the supplies from 1st April of the financial year up to the date from which it becomes liable for registration. Clear with this? This I had already explained in one of similar examples. Wherein from the date of registration, first what is there? First supplies of goods or services shall for the purpose of determining eligibility of the person to pay tax under this notification include the supplies. So the value of supplies will be included to determine the eligibility under 10(2)(a), but for the purpose of determination of actual tax payable, it shall not include supplies from 1st April of the financial year to the date on which he becomes liable for registration. Okay, when will he become liable for registration? Once he cross 20 lakhs. Thus, Care and Care Beauty Center will eligible to pay tax under 10(2)(a) up to annual turnover of 50 lakhs. Okay. So people who have given me the answer, have you considered the total turnover and then charge 6%, or have you done it separately? Tax liability by the end of October is 20 lakhs into 18%. You have considered only on 20 lakhs, you have considered 18%. It's wrong, Mr. Akash. Okay, so we have to consider two turnovers because up to 20 lakhs, there is no GST. Up to 50 lakhs, composition. Once you cross 50 lakhs, composition is also gone. You have to pay normal tax. Okay. Now calculate the answer and tell me. I've given you a full hint on how to calculate it. That is, about this quarter 1. So in the first quarter, ending 30th June, the turnover was 20 lakhs. So here, since the annual turnover is less than 20 lakhs, registration is not required. Hence, there is no registration. Turnover is 20 lakhs, tax is zero. Second quarter, reached 50 lakhs. Effective rate is 6%, just 3% CGST, 3% SGST. Turnover is 50 lakhs, which means up reach 50 lakhs, which means it is cumulative. So 50 lakhs minus 20 lakhs, what is there here? 50 lakhs on this 6%. Okay. Then quarter 3, quarter 3 is not completed. That's given on the turnover for October. So October, what is the effective rate? They have touched 50 lakhs here. So they have to opt out of composition and pay regular GST. So here the normal rate of GST will apply, which is 18%. On what value? On 70 lakhs minus 50 lakhs, which is 20. On 20 lakhs, at 18%, which is 3 lakhs 60,000. So the total tax payable 540,000. Okay. Whether she can offer composition scheme? No, care and care center cannot offer composition schemes in the next financial year. Fundamentally, the composition scheme can be availed in respect of food and only one service, namely restaurant service. As regards services other than restaurant services, only marginal supply of such services for a specified value cannot offer composition of 10-1. Therefore, a person who is engaged exclusively in supply of services other than restaurant services is not eligible for composition scheme under 10-1. They can go only under 10. In 10-2 also she cannot opt because her limit is crossing 50 lakhs for previous financial. Tax liability, if you are seeing 50 lakhs into 18%. No, because here at the second quarter, you didn't know what is the turnover, how much we will cross. At the end of second quarter, it is 50 lakhs. So here you will pay in the composition. Once it cross 50 lakhs is when you will pay the regular. This Karthik, your question on a lighter note on the basis of answer if this session was an interview this for article. Good question. Karthik, definitely आपको रखता और भी बहुत सारे students हैं answer strongly or correctly therein, I would have appointed them all. So every question we just keeping some other small points which are very important. In this case, it was composition and regular tax. That's the reason I'm making questions little complicated so that we can catch through the range of. If a person is already registered and in a financial year, its first quarter turnover is 20 lakhs. So is it now also exempt tax? No. Okay. So we'll extend this question. This first year's turnover they have given. Now next year, the substantial turnover is say 20 lakhs. So will she get the exemption and will she be able to go for composition? Firstly, turnover for previous years is more than 50 lakhs, so she cannot go for composition. And she will not be able to apply the 20 lakhs basic exemption limit next year also. So next year on rupee 1, she has to pay tax at 18%. Clear with Rekha? Next year she will not get that 20 lakhs limit again. Once registered, you have to pay. They have opted for compensation from financial advantage be treated as like voluntary registration and charge 6% for sentiment. No. For composition, they have a special provision which I had showed you in the last class also. If you read the proviso to section 10 to 8, then you will understand that in case of a composition taxpayer, the aggregate turnover for the purpose of composition for the first time of registration, the 20 lakhs need not be considered. You read the proviso, you will understand. That's what I highlighted in the last. Does it mean that you must always deduct the applicable threshold limit while calculating tax liability? Not always, only if you're starting the business. Here they've said that they started providing beauty and care from first April. So that's the reason. When a new business is started, you will apply that threshold, not all. I will also, for the benefit of Raghavan and Akash, I will show you the art proviso again. अभी ठीक है. Okay. So this is the provision of composition levy, section 10, wherein in this section 10 to 8, the end explanation is there. For the purpose of the determining the tax payable by the person under this section, the expression turnover in a state or turnover agent directly shall not include the value of the following supplies from the first day of April of the financial year up to the date when such person becomes liable for registration under the tax. To the date when such becomes liable for registration need not be. Okay. But in next year, if her aggregate turnover drops to 18 lakhs, still she has to pay GST for the full 18 lakhs. Ms. Neha, if her, since she's registered and she's out of composition in this year, so next year also she'll be under regular scheme and she has to pay GST on the full 18 lakhs during. Rekha, sir, if in a financial year aggregate turnover of a person is 50 lakhs, then is his registration cancelled? No, his registration is not cancelled. He will continue to be registered. He will continue to pay. He can opt for cancellation voluntarily, but not automatically. So if he cancels his registration next year, then he doesn't have to pay GST. But otherwise, he will pay GST on his 15 lakhs turnover. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Question number 34. From the following information, determine the amount of input tax credit admissible to ABC Limited in respect of various inputs purchased during the month of September 2020. Goods purchased without invoice 25,000. Goods purchased from PQR Limited. Full payment is made by PEPC Limited to PQR Limited against the supply, but tax has not been deposited by PQR Limited. For the purchase of goods from TT Limited, invoice of TT Limited is received in the month of September 2021, but goods were received in the month of October 2021, 24,000 rupees. Then goods purchased against valid invoice from FF Limited, tax has been deposited by FF Limited. ABC Limited has made payment for such purchases in the month of October 2020. So from this information, determine the amount of input tax credit which is done. Question 34. Amount of IDT admissible is 36,000. Only 36,000. All other transactions contravene the provisions contained in Section 16 of the CGST Act pertaining to availability of tax credit. Okay. Any other answers? Only 36,000 ITC, 60,000. Mrs. Prema Clara, good to see your answer. Please give question number 34. Okay. Okay. Good observation. Most of you are giving correct observations and correct justification. Miss Mrs. Prema Clara, I'll wait for your correct answer. This is saying 60,000. Okay. Okay. Observation. Simple question. That is also simple. Miss Menka Kumari, 1,80,000 rupees. My God. How did you get 1,80,000? You have claimed everything as a credit, or did you intend to say 18,000? Then went 1,80,000. You're claiming everything. Okay. I've got the answers from major of y'all. Yes. Goods purchased without invoice. Note on this. Yeah. The reasons are correct, Mr. Karthik, except the reason number 5. Other than that, the answers are correct. Question number 34. Goods purchased without invoice. No input tax credit will be available since ABC Limited is not in possession of a valid tax paying document. It may appear in GSTR 2A, may appear in GSTR 2B, still they cannot do it. Technically, practically, people are telling, but from an examination perspective and from academic perspective, you have to see whether all the conditions of section are fulfilled. Since here involves the taxing document, we don't have it. We cannot do it. Second point, goods purchased from PCR Limited. Payment is made by ABC Limited to against to PCR Limited against the tax liability, but they have not deposited that, so we cannot see it. So if they have not made the payment, we cannot claim it. Goods purchased from PCR Limited as per section 16(2). No registered person shall be entitled to the credit of any input tax in respect of any supply of goods unless the tax charged in respect of the supply has been actually paid to the government. Since PQR Limited has not deposited the tax, no ITC will be available. ITC will not be available. Then purchase of goods not to be used for business purposes. A registered person shall be entitled to take input tax credits which are used and intend to be used in the course or furtherance of business only. Since ABC Limited has purchased these goods for non-business purposes, hence credit is not admissible. Then, point number 4, purchase of goods from TT Limited. Invoice is received in the month of September, but goods were 2021. But goods were received in next month. Input tax credit is admissible only when the registered person has received that goods. Since the goods are not received in the month, goods are received in the month of September 21, input tax credit cannot be claimed in the month of September 2021. It can be claimed in the month of October 20. Then goods purchased against valid invoice from FF Limited. Tax has been deposited by FF Limited. ABC Limited has made the payment of such purchases in the month of October 21. Input tax credit shall be admissible in September 21, even if payment is made, because payment will not be relevant. Once we have claimed the credit, we can, once we have received the invoice and all of the conditions are satisfied, we can claim the credit. The important point to note here is that given this payment only to confuse you, if they say the condition of 180 days is to be seen or no, because today I will, when I make the input purchase, I will not have the clarity on when I will make the payment. So today I will claim the credit. But if I don't make the payment within 180 days, it's 1 minute. So 180 days criteria, we will not see it as on today. Once we have any purchase, of course, we may take the payment now and take the payment later on. So today, we have to claim a credit. And if we don't make the payment within 180 days, then we will have to reverse the credit, okay, and reverse it in the month when we cross 180 days, not today. So this payment, whether they are made in October or they are made it later, that's only there to confuse you. Cases for the month of September is 36,000. Yes, Pooja, you are correct. ITC 34,020. No, 34,050. That is 36,000. So Prabhas, how is saying 33,650? There is no amount of 33,650. Please tell me what is the logic you have for an odd amount. Okay. Fine. So from this become fine. So ITC we have understood clearly. We'll take a break of 10 minutes here and we will come back at 7:06. Then we'll take the next question. So break 10. Okay. Why are these restrictions there for claiming ITC? These restrictions are there because there are a lot of fraud invoices, and some supplier is giving an invoice, but he's not paying taxes to the government. That's the reason these restrictions were compulsory required. Okay. Now, with respect to question by Mr. Ajay Ketan, sir, please respond to the question. Services supplied by government to business entities are taxable as RCM. Correct. Government to business entities are few services are under RCM, few services under forward charge. Most of the services under RCM. Exceptions to this rule, sir, is answer. We have to write the services of entry 6A, speed post, express parcel, post agency services, insurance. Yeah. So these are there under forward charge. So this is only one under postal services. Apart from this, if you go to this exemption chapter, Mr. Ajay Ketan, there are other services which are liable under forward charge. They're not uh, exempted. The exception to the rule that instead of reverse charge, these services by postal departments, they have to pay under forward charge. Any more questions? Or we can go to the next question. Okay, Prabhasji, can you please explain section 10.2a again? I am unable to understand the first supplies. Okay, so 10.2a is saying that if you are a first time registered person who are not registered under GST and you're registering it now, you can get the exemption of 20 lakhs. Okay, you can register today, do composition supplies, don't have to pay GST up to 20 lakhs because up to 20 lakhs, you will get the threshold exemption limit of 20 lakhs turnover, no GST is payable. So up to 20 lakhs, you don't have to pay GST. After that, on the balance amount from 20 lakh 1 rupee onwards, you pay the GST under composition scheme, right? And once you pay under composition scheme, you have to pay continue under composition up to 50 lakhs. After 50 lakhs, you have to pay regular scheme. So take two scenarios. One is you have registered for the first year and your turnover is 49 lakhs. So up to 20 lakhs, you'll get an exemption. On the balance 29 lakh rupees, you will pay at 6%. Next year, you will continue the composition. You will not get the 20 lakh exemption again because you are already registered. So from rupee 1, from the next year onwards, you will pay under composition at 6%. Let's take a second scenario. Okay. Your turnover in the first year, you started the business up to 20 lakhs exemption. Your turnover cumulatively is 60 lakhs. So you're touching 50 lakhs. Up to 50 lakhs, you pay under composition. Once you've crossed 50 lakhs, that is 60 minus 50 on the 10 lakhs, you will pay regular GST at 18%. Next year, you will not get the exemption because you have crossed the registration threshold limit. So on the next year, from rupee 1, you will pay GST not at 6%, but at regular 18%. Clear, Prabhas team? That is what I was explaining on section 2.10.2a. Okay, we'll start with question number 35. This is a lengthier question. That's the reason. Let's understand this clearly and then apply it. XYZ Limited, which is in New Delhi, manufactures biscuits under the brand name Tasty Picks. Biscuits are supplied to wholesalers and distributors located across India on FOR basis. FOR means freight on receipt basis. FOB basis means freight on board. And FOR means until I give the goods to until I deliver freight on receipt up till the point of receiver's thing, it is my liability. So transportation is my cost, is my responsibility. FOR basis from the warehouse of the company located at New Delhi. The company uses multiple modes of transport for supplying the biscuits to its customers spread across the country. The transportation cost is shown as a line item in the invoice and billed to the customers with a markup of 2% on total amount of freight inclusive of taxes. Okay, so this question, each and every fact is relevant. So this is an example when you get a lengthier question, but the answer is still simple. You have to just apply, be patient and apply what is to be applied. Okay, so they charge transportation cost as a separate line in the invoice and is billed to the customer with a markup of 2%. Now, flour, which is used for the production. So there are biscuit manufacturers. So they will use a flour. The flour used for production process is procured from flour. Matlab, the flour what is used for production process is procured from the flour which is used for production process is procured from vendors located in Madhya Pradesh on ex-factory basis. So ex-factory basis means they will only give the delivery at the factory. The transportation is my responsibility. So they procure the raw material of flour from Madhya Pradesh on ex-factory basis. The company engages goods transport agencies to transport the flour from the factories of the vendors to its factory located in New Delhi. The company has provided the following data relating to transportation of biscuits and flours for the month of April. For sales within the NCR region, which is the Delhi region, the company arranged a local minivan belonging to an individual and paid him 54,000 rupees. For sales to locations in distinct states, okay, outside states, what is the value within the brackets? That's the value of the goods what they have supplied. The company booked the goods by Indian Railways and paid rail freight of 3,17,000 rupees for sales to locations in neighboring states. So faraway states they're doing through railway. But then for neighboring states, the company booked for goods by road carriers, which are goods by road carriers, goods transport agencies, and paid road freight of 3,73,000 rupees. Out of the total sales to neighbor states, goods worth 10 lakhs were booked through a GTA, which paid tax at 12%. Freight of 73,000 was paid to such GTA. Okay. For purchase of flour from Madhya Pradesh, the company booked the goods by the GTA and paid road freight of 55,000 rupees. For purchase of butter from Punjab, the company booked the goods by a GTA and paid a road freight of 35,000 rupees. For local purchase of baking powder, the company booked the goods by a GTA in a single freight and paid road freight of 1,500 rupees. For transferring the biscuits, open market value of which is 4 lakhs, to one of its sister concern in Rajasthan, the company booked the goods by a GTA and paid road freight of 40,000 rupees. Based on the particulars given above, compute the GST payable on the amount paid for transportation by XYZ Limited when it avails the services of different transporters. Also, second question is compute the GST charge on transportation cost billed by the customers, by the company to its customers. Note, assume the rate of GST on transportation of goods to be 5%, okay, except when any other rate is specified in the question. And GST on supply of biscuits will be 12%. Okay, so this is the question. What we have to calculate. Firstly, did you understand the question and what we have to calculate? Yeah, Prabhas, does that mean the person can avail composition every year until his annual turnover crosses 50 lakhs? No, Prabhas, he cannot. Yeah, he can avail composition every year until his annual turnover crosses 50 lakhs. Yes, year on year, he can avail the composition scheme up to 50 lakhs. So if it is 49 lakhs this year, 45 lakhs next year, then 40 lakhs, then 49 lakhs every year, he can continue with composition scheme year on year. Too much of information. Yes, it's a very lengthy question, but simple to answer, not much complicated. This question is saying that he is a manufacturer who's taken some services of a goods transport agency and he's supplying some goods. What are we supposed to do? Compute based on the particular, compute the GST payable on the amount paid for transportation. So first is we have to calculate this point on what is the GST payable under reverse charge, because I'm taking services of a goods transport agency. So I have to compute the GST under reverse charge. So let's work out this question together. You will get these types of lengthier questions in the exam. So be attentive to this. Question number 35. Computation of GST payable on amount paid for transportation by XYZ Limited when it avails the services of different transporters. First is the particulars, then the freight amount, and then we'll calculate the GST payable. First is this one, transportation of biscuits from a local minivan belonging to an individual and paid him 54,000 rupees. Transportation of biscuits in a local minivan belonging to an individual. Only the transportation of goods by road by a GPA is liable to GST. Therefore, transportation of goods by road otherwise than a GPA is exempt. Okay. So, what is liable for GST RCM is only Food Transport Agency. But if they have purchased, if they've used the services of transportation through any other transporter, now this is a local minivan. This is not a GTA, right? So there is no GST. Rate is 54,000, but GST payable on this is no. Minivan, your auto, or anything if you have, then any GST paid on that, any freight paid on that there is no GST. Are you with me? I am not seeing any response here. Okay, I assume that you're carefully listening to me. Second, transportation, the company for sales to locations in distant states. This is the value of the goods, which is not relevant for us because we are calculating what is the GST payable on transportation. On this one, they have paid transportation of 3,17,000. So freight of 3,17,000. GST payable on this one also is 5%. Okay. Then third is for sales in locations in neighboring states, the company booked GTA and paid road freight of 3,73,000. Don't take 3,73,000 completely because there is a complications over here. They've said out of the total sales to neighboring states, goods worth 10 lakhs were booked through a GTA which paid tax at 12%. Okay. So we'll break this up into two things. Transportation of biscuits by a GTA, wherein GST is payable by XYZ Limited under reverse charge. How much is it payable under reverse charge? Out of 3,73,000, 73,000 is paid by a GTA under forward charge. And balance is how much? 3 lakhs. So 3 lakhs is paid by me. So on this 3 lakhs, reverse charge I will pay. On the balance amount of 73,000, okay, it is collected by the GTA itself. How much is he collecting? He's collecting at 12%. So I don't have to pay under forward charge and I don't have to pay under reverse charge, right? Because tax is payable by the GT under forward charge and not by the recipient under reverse charge. I am a receiver, so I don't have to pay GST on this. So this 3,73,000 is broken up as 3,73,000. On 3 lakhs, I will pay GST at reverse charge at 5%. On 73,000, there is no GST which I have to pay. It is paid by the GTA itself. Clear on this part? Okay, good. This part you understood how you have to break it up into two parts. Okay. Transportation. Next is transportation of flour from Madhya Pradesh. The company booked the goods by GTA and paid a road freight of 50 to 55,000. Services provided by GTA by way of transportation of inter alia flour are exempt. Transportation of flour is exempt, so there is no GST on this. So exemption, reverse charge, सबका कॉम्बिनेशन वाला क्वेश्चन है ये. तो फ्लोर आटे के ऊपर जो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन है, फ्लोर मिल्क, इसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगता है. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ फ्लोर एंड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ मिल्क. सो ऑन फ्लोर जीटीए जीएसटी इज नॉट पेएबल. फ्लोर हो गया. नेक्स्ट क्या है? बटर. Transportation of butter by GTA. Those services provided by GTA by way of transportation and goods carriage of inter alia. Milk is exempt, but here it is not milk. This is flour. Flour will not be exempted and it will be payable under reverse charge. So 35,000 के ऊपर GST 5% लगेगा. Then after butter, baking powder. Baking powder कितना है? बेकिंग पाउडर पे फ्रेट है 1500, पर इसके ऊपर नेल बोलूंगा मैं. वाई? बिकॉज सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय जीटीए बाय वे ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ गुड्स कैरेज वेयर consideration is charged for the transportation of goods on a consignment transport in a single carriage does not exceed 1500. इन्होंने क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? Company the goods by GTA in a single carriage and paid freight of 1500. If it is multiple carriage, then what is the limit? The limit is 750 rupees. Okay, here it is a single carriage, and I have for which the value is 1500, on which I don't have to pay any GST. Okay, in our exemption chapter we have discussed this also. Just try to recollect that. Next is transportation of biscuits by a GTA to a sister concern. GST is payable XYZ Limited under reverse charge, right? Even though I'm giving to a sister concern, but transportation to leka hi aayi. So on that, transportation is 40,000, on which GST is again 5%. This one. Then we have covered all the cases. What is the total tax payable by XYZ Limited on availing services of different transporters? Total GST payable is 34,600. Okay. Any questions till now? Go through this in detail. I will expand this so that you can understand this more better manner. Can you please explain what is the GST rate on freight paid to Indian Rail? Again, it is 5% itself. Can you please explain the third point of question number 35 again? Third point here. On this 3,73,000. For sales to locations in neighboring states, the company booked the GTA and paid road freight of 3,73,000 rupees. Okay, so 3,73,000 is the freight amount. Out of the total sales to neighboring states, goods worth 10 lakhs were booked through a GTA Okay, so 55 lakhs is the worth of goods on which I paid a GT of 3,73,000. Of this 55 lakhs, there is a value of 10 lakhs, which are booked through a GTA, which was paid, and the GTA has paid the tax at 12%, right? They booked through a GTA, which paid tax at 12%. Now, uh, freight of 73,000 was paid to such GTA. So total freight value is how much? 3,73,000, of which freight of 73,000 I paid to a GTA on which he has collected the GST. So he's collecting under forward charge. Once he's collecting under forward charge, I don't have to pay it under reverse charge. So that's why you'll break this 3,73,000 as two parts. 3 lakhs over here on which I will pay under reverse charge, and 73,000 on which GTA is paying under forward charge. So I don't have to pay GST on this. Clear? No. Karthik, the question is, sir, somewhere was written that freight amount was inclusive of tax. No, freight amount will not be inclusive of tax. In some question, it may come that you have collected the freight including of tax, then you have to gross up. In this case, nothing is mentioned. So we have the freight amount which we have paid. So we have to pay under reverse charge on that third and fourth point. Now, Somesh, 3,73,000 we are breaking charge. So अपना GST payable zero हो जाएगा. So why consider 5% tax? 5% is the GST rate, so we have to pay at 5%. 5% is the GST under reverse charge, so we have to be at 5%. Well, I upload the answers to yes, both the questions and answers will be uploaded. Double page, single page. Okay, so now let's get to the second part of the question. We have only completed first part. First part is computation of GST payable on amount paid for transportation by SIs Limited when it avails the services of different transporters. So this is what I will pay. Okay, अब मेरा liability on reverse charge बन गया है. Second point is computation of GST charge on transportation cost billed by XYZ Limited to its customers. तो इस क्वेश्चन में थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेशन है. क्या है ये? When it says that I am paying GST to transporters, और यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा पॉइंट है. Company uses multiple modes of transportation of supplies. ठीक है, इसको पढ़िए ठीक से. The transportation to supply of its customers to its customers spread across the country, और ये FOB basis है. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? What is FOR basis? FOR basis का ये मतलब हुआ जब मैं सप्लाई करूंगा, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में चार्ज करूंगा ही, और ये गुड्स आपके गोडाउन तक पहुंचाऊंगा मैं. इट इज नॉट ऑन FOB बेसिस की ऑप्शनल है एंड एनीबडी कैन डू इट. इट इज नॉट FOB बेसिस, इट इज FOR बेसिस. सो जो भी मैं सप्लाई कर रहा हूँ उस पर फ्राइट लगाऊंगा ही. तो इट इज अ केस ऑफ कॉम्पोजिट सप्लाई. मतलब मैं फ्राइट सर्विसेज एक्स्ट्रा मेरे हिसाब से नहीं प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ, मैं इसीलिए प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि मेरा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही FOR बेसिस है। मैं जो गुड सप्लाई करूंगा उसके साथ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन रहेगा ही रहेगा, विच मीन्स इट्स अ कॉम्पोजिट सप्लाई। जो रेट ऑफ द मेन प्रोडक्ट है वो ही रेट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन भी अप्लाई हो। ठीक है, द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इज शोन एज अ लाइन आइटम इन द invoice and is billed to the customers with a markup of 2%. ठीक है, now I'm not charging exactly amount, I'm charging extra, that's fine. 2% markup of the total amount of freight paid inclusive of taxes. Yeah, inclusive of taxes, freight amount plus tax जो है, on that I will charge a 2% markup and then bill to the customer. Now what is the question asking? First part तो हमने कर दिया. Second is calculate the GST charged on transportation cost. So I don't have to calculate what is the value of the goods. यहाँ पे इतने सारे इन्होंने values दिए, 20 lakhs, 1 crore 78 lakhs, 55 lakhs. वो सब आपको confuse करने के लिए है, because nowhere in the question they have asked to calculate the GST payable. They have just told you calculate the GST charge on transportation cost. तो मेरे को सिर्फ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट लेना है, वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई नहीं लेना है. जनरली वी गेट कैरिड अवे कि वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई दिया है तो हम उसको भी इंक्लूड करके जीएसटी चार्ज करेंगे, लेकिन यू डोंट हैव टू इंक्लूड दैट. यू हैव टू ओनली कैलकुलेट जीएसटी चार्ज ऑन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट व्हिच आई एम बिलिंग टू माय कस्टमर्स. ओके, सर मुश्किल नहीं है, बस बड़ा सा लग रहा है, इसीलिए थोड़ा ऑब्जर्व होने में टाइम लग रहा है. व्हाट वाज द सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन? दिस इज द सेकंड पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. ठीक है, सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन को आंसर करते हैं. क्वेश्चन इज लेंथियर, दैट्स ऑल, नथिंग कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. तो क्वेश्चन इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, बट ठीक है, यहाँ पर रखते हैं. इट इज लिटिल रेलेवेंट. दिस कंप्लीटली. ठीक है, नाउ व्हाट आई हैव टू कैलकुलेट? आई हैव टू ओनली कैलकुलेट व्हाट इज द GST I have to pay on the transportation charges what I'm billing to my customers. Since XYZ Limited is supplying, since XYZ Limited, computation of GST charge on transportation cost billed by XYZ Limited to its customers. Since XYZ Limited is supplying biscuits on FOR basis, the services of transportation of biscuits gets bundled with the supply of biscuits. Thus, the supply of biscuits and transportation services is a composite supply, chargeable to tax at the rate applicable to the principal supply, that is 12%. क्योंकि composition supply है. ये सेक्शन 8A का रेफरेंस आपको दे दिया है, बट यू डोंट हैव टू राइट इट इन एग्जाम. बेसिकली जो बिस्किट का रेट है वो ही रेट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए भी अप्लाई होगा. तो व्हाट इज द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन चार्जेस एंड चार्जिंग? ऊपर से ले लेते हैं सीधा. फर्स्ट इज 54,000. मैंने इसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं भरा है, लेकिन कस्टमर को मैं तो जीएसटी चार्ज करूंगा ही. So 54,000 यहाँ पे आ गए. Transportation of biscuits in a local minivan belonging to an individual, 54,000. Have I paid any GST on this? No. So zero here. What I will bill? I will bill with 2% margin. मतलब 54,000 plus zero, which is 54,000 into 102%. So value plus 2% margin. So 54,000 into 2% makes it 55,000 ET. How much will be the GST and charge? Freight के ऊपर 5% है, लेकिन मेरा एक composition है. So I will charge 12% on 55,080 at 12%. Fine. Next, ऐसे सभी का transportation cost लीजिए. Transportation of biscuits by thousand. तो यहाँ पे देखिए, फर्स्ट इज 54,000 लिया हमने, सेकेंड 3,17,000. तो 3,17,000 यहाँ पे फिर से लेंगे. GST पेड ऑन फ्रेट इज हाउ मच? 5% पे किया हमने. Freight billed with markup, again इन दोनों का ऐड करके 2% of this is what I'm billing. 3,39,507 on that GST is 12%. Then transportation of biscuits by GTA 3 lakh और 73,000 जो हमने ब्रेक किया था, 3 lakhs. GST paid on freight 15,000 on that margin 2%. तो इतना हम लोग इसके ऊपर 12% लेंगे. Then 70,000 के ऊपर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज था. बट जीटीए मेरे को चार्ज कर रहा है, करेक्ट? तो उसके ऊपर जो भी है 12% डू द मार्कअप ऑफ 2%. तो मैं यहाँ पे ऐड करूंगा, पे नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन आई पेड टू द जीटीए 70,000 ऑन द 12%. उसके ऊपर 102%. So 73,000 plus 8,760 on that 2%. Okay. This is what we have done, 3 lakh for 73,000. Then goods transportation of floor में फिर से supply नहीं कर रहा हूँ, तो I don't have to add that. Butter is also my input, I'm not supplying, नहीं add करूँगा. Baking powder is also my input, I will not add that. Transportation of biscuit by GTA to sister concern. ये sister concern का थोड़ा doubtful है, तो sister concern we have to be careful. We have making an assumption here that it has been assumed that there is no markup on transportation cost bill to sister concern, तो मेरे को sister concern को अलग से bill करने की जरूरत नहीं. Fine. So total tax charged by XYZ Limited on transportation cost billed to customer is 95,940. Okay. Did you understand the second part? Any other entity which is having the same management, उसको sister concern बोलते हैं. Okay. Do you need any time to grasp this? Any part you want me to show this again? First part we have understood clearly. Second part you have to be very careful. A small mistake here and there will alter your answers, so be very careful. They are also adding the GST to freight before markup of 2%. Yeah, GST freight also we are adding because see the question, Akashti, here it says that the 2% markup is the transportation cost is shown as a line item in the invoice and billed to the customers with a markup of 2% on the total amount of freight paid inclusive of taxes. मतलब freight plus taxes जो है उसके ऊपर मैं 2% markup दे रहा हूँ, इसलिए I'm adding the tax also. तो जीएसटी 2 बार पेएबल नहीं हो रहा है इस केस में, क्योंकि अगर सिर्फ मार्कअप पर चार्ज होता तो ठीक था, बट एज 100% पर तो ऑलरेडी जीएसटी हो चुका है. ठीक है, मेरा मार्जिन है, वैसे मैं टैक्स के ऊपर टैक्स नहीं पे कर रहा हूँ, मेरा वैल्यू जो है मैं नहीं चाहता हूँ कि मेरा आईटीसी रिस्क हो. सो द डीलर हैज अग्रीड विद दिस कस्टमर सर आई विल चार्ज यू मार्कअप ऑन द फ्री एंड I will include the GST what is being charged to me also. So that is what is the commercial transaction. So that's fine. So commercial, any transactions, any value can be agreed. Since it is agreed, so this is not there is not GST which is charged twice. That is the value. Now I can tell that I will pay GST of 10,000 and I will charge you 20,000 rupees. That's up to me on what I negotiate with my customers. That is not that, that doesn't mean that GST is getting charged for us. Can we go to the next question? Yeah, can proceed. Perfect. Okay. See, right? Question number 36. This is also a lengthier question, but very simple, very, very simple. Since we have done so many questions, it will become really simple for us. Okay. Ryan and Company is a partnership firm which is in the business of manufacture of perfumes in Madhya Pradesh. It submits the following information pertaining to June 2021. Input tax credit balance as on 1st June is, so this is the balance. Okay. Purchases inward supplies for month of June is, these are the things: supply of raw materials, then supply received from A Limited Kolkata, taxable value of, sorry. This is a little jumbled up here and there. Okay, inward supply for a minute. Okay. This is the purchases. Supply of raw material received from A Limited, Kolkata is 1,12,000. Supply of raw material from B Limited, Indore is 2,10,000. Supply of raw material from A Limited, again, Kolkata. 1 minute. Great, Prabhasji. Good, good that your techniques are improving. That is the main objective for this. Value of raw materials received from A Limited, again 1 lakh plus GST, taxable, again B Limited, 2 lakhs. This is a repetition. I'm sorry, this question I prepared at the last moment, so there are some errors here. Rent of Indore office paid to C Limited Mumbai, taxable value of supply 60,000 plus GST at 18%. Then rent of Indore office paid to delimited Bhopal taxable values 1,80,000 plus GST at 18%. Packing materials received from E Limited Nagpur taxable value of supplies 20,000 plus 18%. Consultancy fee paid to local cost accountant is 10,000 plus 18%. Fridge received from F Limited, a retailer in Indore. Taxable value of supply before 3.5% discount is 75,500 plus GST at 28%. Sales outward supply for June 2018. 1 lakh units supplied to G Limited New Delhi. Taxable value of supply is 10 lakh plus GST at 18%. Then 6,000 units supplied to HH Limited Bhopal. This is the 70 lakhs plus GST at this percent. Find the amount of GST payable through electronic cash ledger for June. Give breakup of CGST, SGST, and IGST. Assume that all the relevant conditions are satisfied, but consultancy fees to the extent of 50% is utilized for personal benefit of client, one of the partners of the firm. Lengthier question, but very simple to answer. Let's get into the answer. Now we have very limited time, so I will not wait for you. We will start with the answers both together. Okay. Question number 36 पे जाते हैं. Computation of GST. First is we have output sales and input sales. First output sales पे compute कर लेते हैं, right? Excuse me. All of this is inward supplies. Now we'll go to the outward supplies here directly. Sales. Outward supplies of manufactured goods supplied to G Limited, 1,000 units. Taxable value of supplies 10 lakhs. GST at 18%, which is what they've said is. New Delhi. New Delhi to New Delhi. Interested. Sorry. The person who is the client is in Madhya Pradesh. So he is in Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh to New Delhi. Madhya Pradesh to New Delhi is interstate. So sorry. Madhya Pradesh to G Limited Delhi is interstate supply. 1,80,000 is the tax. ठीक है, अपने को सिर्फ tax लेना है. So 1,80,000 is IGST. Then Madhya Pradesh to Bhopal is within the same state. Same state पे CGST SGST लगेगा, right? अभी क्या वैल्यू लेंगे हम लोग? 70 lakhs plus 4,34,000. 1 minute. $70 lakh into 9% is 63,000. Why is this person taken 5,67,000? One minute. Let me calculate here. 70 lakh on this tax at 18%. Makes it as 82 lakhs. If I consider 10% discount, is 63,000 on that. 73 lakh 34,000. Yeah. Perfect. So the value what we have to consider is 74 lakh 34,000 makes it as 11 lakh 34,000. Yeah, correct. So what is the value of the goods here? Taxable value of supply before 10% discount is 70 lakhs. Okay. So before discount, it is 70 lakhs. So we can give the discount because it is mentioned as taxable value of supply before 10% of discount. It means we can tell that since a discount is known at the time of supply, it is mentioned in the invoice and all the conditions are satisfied. So the value of the goods will be 63 lakhs. On 63 lakhs, the tax at 9%, which is 5 lakh 67,000 and 5 lakh 67,000. Here, so we can mention your 63 lakhs into 9% each. Okay. Now computation of input tax credit. First is what is the opening balance? I will reduce the screen size. Opening balance as on 1st June 2021. They have given here. What is the opening balance of CGST? 1,90,000. Opening balance of SGST? 1,87,000. Opening balance of IGST? 1,04 lakhs. So this is the opening ITC. Inward supplies during the month of June. First, what I've done, I have received supply from A Limited. ST, so IGST of 12%. Then supply from B Limited Indore, right? Indore से क्या आएगा? CGST and SGST 2 lakhs के ऊपर 5% is 5,000 each. Brent, so this is a repetition. Let me delete this. Okay. Rent of office again is an interstate supply. Mumbai taxable value of supply Mumbai to Mumbai to Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, sorry, is IGST 10,800, 60,000 के ऊपर 18%. And Indore भोपाल से यहाँ पे इंट्रास्टेट 1,80,000 into 9%, 9%. Okay. Then packing materials received from नागपुर आपको इंटरस्टेट हो गया अगेन. फाइन. 3,600 कितना है? 20,000 के ऊपर 8%, 3,600. Then consultancy charges 50% is used for personal purpose. That's so it is not eligible. So personal purpose के लिए जो है ब्लॉक क्रेडिट में आपको पता है उतना क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. So 5,000 के ऊपर 9%, 9%. ठीक है. तो 450 each. देन फ्रिज परचेज किया है. फ्रिज कैपिटल गुड्स है. क्रेडिट मिलेगा? हाँ, क्रेडिट मिलेगा. क्या वैल्यू पे मिलेगा? 75,500 जो है उसके ऊपर 3.5% डिस्काउंट. सो प्लस 75,000. दिस इज द वैल्यू ऑफ द फ्रिज. इसके ऊपर इंटू 3.5%. तो वैल्यू ऑफ द फ्रिज कितना हो गया? 75,000 माइनस दिस ऑन दैट 28%, मतलब 14% each. This one into 14% makes it as 10,132. This one into 14%, 10,500. $75,500 मैंने वैल्यू गलत लिया. So 10,200. 75,500 on the 3.5% डिस्काउंट कम करेंगे तो 72,857 ये हो गया वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई ऑन दैट 28%. मतलब इंदौर से मैं खरीद लाऊं तो हाफ ऑफ परसेंट 14%, 14%. बट इज इट क्लेमेबल? यस सर, इट इज क्लेमेबल. व्हाई इज इट क्लेमेबल? फॉर ऑफिस स्टाफ. इट्स नॉट फॉर पर्सनल यूज, इट इज फॉर ऑफिस स्टाफ. ब्लॉक क्रेडिट नहीं है तो आपको क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा. ठीक है. लास्ट आइटम क्या है? टोटल. तो टोटल इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट मेरा इतना हो गया. So this is my input, this is my output. Output आ गया ऊपर 5,67,000 CGST, SGST 1,80,000 IGST, और this is my input credit. GST on outward supply इतना आ गया. Now in less GST on inward supply balance IGST rupees. तो मैं कैसे offset करूंगा? IGST फर्स्ट पे कर दूंगा. 1,80,000 है, उसमें 4,26,400 मेरा IGST. I will utilize. बैलेंस कितना बचा? 2,46,400. देन मैं क्या ऑफसेट करूंगा? CGST. CGST 567 में से फर्स्ट CGST फ्रॉम CGST ले लूंगा. ठीक है. बैलेंस क्या करूंगा मैं?
IGST IGST ऑन इनवर्ट सप्लाई 246 जो है यहाँ पे वो पूरा यूटिलाइज कर लूंगा यहाँ पे, तब वो यूटिलाइज कर लूंगा तो बैलेंस पेएबल बाय कैश लेजर, क्रेडिट लेजर खत्म हो गया, कैश लेजर। नेक्स्ट एसजीएसटी का कितना बैलेंस है? 2,18,850, उसको मैं यूटिलाइज कर दूंगा। आईजीएसटी कुछ बैलेंस बचा है? नहीं बचा है, तो बैलेंस पूरा आईजीएसटी से पे करना पड़ेगा, कैश से पे करना पड़ेगा। क्लियर ऑन दिस? Okay, Karthik Gupta, grossing up 734 tax payable. Okay. So do it necessarily to know district of each state, whether it will be specifically given exam, as in this exam Bhopal is given. No, Bhopal will give it. We'll have to identify the state, but generally they wouldn't give it, but we'll just have to know which city is in which state. So is this correct way rather than finding value of deducting discount? Yeah, that is also a correct way, Karthik. Whatever is the value given on that also you can cross it up. Correct. Everything is provided in this. Only we need to consider what is IGST, CGST, and SGST. Correct. Simple question, but generally when we are getting a simple question, we may miss something in haste. Be careful. Don't miss out on anything. So simple questions like this, lengthier ones still give you marks. Can a person claim ITC on any goods used for business purpose? Can a person claim ITC on any goods used for? Yes, any goods used for business purpose, we can claim it. There is no restriction. In block credit, you have seen that there is no restriction. So anything, you can do it. Sir, it is necessary in exam to write the answers by making tables and proper representation. Yes, it is very important because a proper table will give you a correct answer. You can make your own problems. There's no standard tables, Sneha. But if you make proper tables, which gives you the perfect answer, so it will give you a step-wise representation. So make proper tables. What is a proper table? Since there's no standard thing, it depends on the practice and what type of question it is there. So as and when you practice, you could see what kind of table will be required. Mainly it is because of your presentation. Can GA claim GST paid on motor car insurance and other maintenance? No, motor car and is a block credit, so motor car is not available. So any insurance and other maintenance is also credit is not available. Okay, so there's one more question which is very simple, but I will not take up that question because it's a very simple question, like how we did this, and it is easily understandable. So I will just show you the answer, how to make the steps for that, and I'll discuss on other parts on the examination tips. So this is the basic reversal, what we had done on the stocks, lying and input tags and things. Basically, stocks, lying and input, we have to do a cross up of it. Inputs in process, we have to take inputs in finished goods. And then on capital goods, whatever is the balance period, we have to do the reversal. And what is the GST payable of that? Okay. So that is a simple question. We'll take 5 more minutes and we'll discuss on what are the examination tips and how to do it. Okay, so this GST topic is a very much a interesting topic in terms of getting a good score. Okay, so you can get a good score in the subject because you'll have a mix of theory and practical. And when it is practical questions, attempt all the questions because the question, the numbering is not given on the final answer. It is given on the steps what you do. Even if your few starting steps are correct and your answer is wrong, you will still get marks for that. And even if your answer is wrong, you will still get steps for what is your understanding on the subject and how you present it. Your presentation and your understanding is very important. So try to attempt all the practical questions, even in direct tax as well as in indirect tax. Theory questions, it is subjective because what you understand is there are some standard procedures on these are the points which should be there in your theory answers. If those points are there, you get marks. Otherwise, you don't get it. So theory, you can answer at the end. But practical questions, take it up first. And those questions on which you are having confidence, take those first. Okay, because when you are confident on starting questions, then your lateral questions also will be very easy to handle. So take up those questions on which you are confident enough. Then you take up those questions which you are not confident on. Now, when you go to exams, you have to be really cool because the time limit is 3 hours. And that's not the time which is given only to you, it's given to everybody. Right. So you have to understand that this time limitation is not only for you, it's for everyone. So everybody gets 3 hours. A person who's getting a first rank also gets 3 hours. A person who doesn't pass out, he's also getting 3 marks. So what's the difference? The person who's preparing for 3 hours, he has strategy, he has some tools in his hand, which you also should have. So when a person can do it, who's getting the same question paper and is getting the same time, why can't you get it? You can also get it by being confident. You should be cool in your exams. How will you be cool? If you are worried, then you're not cool. How to remove the worry? By being confident. How to be confident? By being studying everything. So if I tell you, go and write uh, a poem of, I'll give you an exam of a poem which you have studied in your nursery of Baba Black Sheep. You do not go confidently and write, you will not get even tensed for 1 minute. Even if you sleep off and wake up, a nursery rhyme is so easy because you have read it and you have thoroughly it. Had this been at your first standard itself, you would have been worried because, oh, how will I do it and things like that. But similarly, any subject, any topic, if you're confident on it, then it becomes easy, then there is no tension. So work out a lot of times, do a lot of revisions. Time is the crux. Now you have time because as and when the exam gets closer, your tension increases. Be confident now. Don't waste any time now. Think of it that tomorrow is your exam. If tomorrow would have been an exam, how tense you would have been? Be the same today also. Every day is very important. Any wastage of time is not permitted now. Be confident on every topic and every subject. Don't miss out on anything. Okay. Then your confidence will increase. Once your confidence increase, then you're cool to your exam. Okay. Take example of what you studied in your 10th standard. If the same question is given now, you are so very confident. Similarly, in the CA exams also, if you have confidence with the subjects and the topics, then going to the exams becomes easier. So it is not that 3 hours which is important. Those 30 hours or those 300 hours which you spend before the exam makes those 3 hours cooler and easier. So study well, prepare well, which will make you write the exams in a well manner, and do a lot of revisions, writing off, so that you can uh, grasp the time management. Time management is very important. So if you do it now, then it will be easier. So do a mock exam by yourself. Okay, do mock exam by yourself so that you prepare the question and answers and keep a timeline of 3 hours whether you're able to answer. Then you'll know where you're spending most of the time. Most of the students I see that they waste time in getting tensed and answering wrong question and things. If you're getting stuck in any question, don't get stuck, because that question may not give you mark, but other questions will give you mark. So if you're getting stuck at any question, don't stop there. Just move on to the next thing. Okay. So those are the tips what I had to tell you. Yeah, in exam, can we mention only section without subsection? Yes, you can mention only section. If you don't remember subsection, that's also fine. How to revise effectively? By making up the main highlighted points. When you read through exams, highlight the main points, make notes of the uh, headlines. Once you have the headlines, then your revision becomes easier. That okay, if you read the headlines, the sub points also you will remember easily. Sir, from where to begin will move appropriate, either MCQ, DGST, or DT. MCQs are covering all the topics. So you finish off your MCQ first and then the other ones. That is my suggestion, but each of you can have your own strategy. Can we solve older question papers of taxation as the answers might be different? Yes, you can solve it, but you'll have to modify it because some changes will be there. But you know that if you solve it, you will get the confidence saying that yes, based on you go to the respective chapter and see it whether the amendments has been taken care of. Most of the amendments you'll find in the amendments section. So from there also you could check whether those amendments you have taken care of it. But you can still solve it because everything is not amended. Few things will be amended, right? So still you can solve the previous year taxation papers. Okay. I really enjoyed the session from the beginning till this problem solving sessions. This was really enlightening for me, and this will really help me improve for the future classes. Give your honest feedback, and if something needs to be improved, I will definitely improve. And I really appreciate the participative whatever I had every time we had around 150 plus questions coming in. That was really helpful. The MCQs, the answers, how you answered. Few students have been really active, and other students have not been active, but they are answering. I appreciate their efforts also. And thank you for being patient. More than talking, listening is also very important. You have been listening for 3 hours on each of the sessions. Really good, really helpful. All the very best for your exams. Do well. So for case studies, can we present like concern, provision, facts, explanation? Uh, Concern, yeah, if you have, you know the confirmed provisions and you know the explanations, you can do it very much. Good. I really encourage students who are pursuing May exams also to go through this. Today, I met a student and he was saying he was not yet started studying for his May exams. I said you can go through the BOS studies app and see the video lectures. You at least get a grasp of the subjects. So that I've seen a lot of students responding saying that they have gone through my previous classes and that's really helped them. I hope my this session also is helpful and I've answered most of your queries. If I've not been able to justify my work over here, I'm really apologetic for it, but I've been trying my best to give you the best teaching and teach you the concept very well. And that was really helpful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Akash Neil. Thank you, Somesh, for the honest feedback. Thank you, Kushi Kankari. Thank you, Ms. Maiman, for Rafiq Bhai. We've seen all these names, your students. They've always been with me from day one. And you've been answering questions, asking questions, answering to my questions. I really enjoyed these sessions. Thank you, Ms. Neha. Any more feedbacks? I'll just wait for 2 minutes. If you have any more questions or any feedbacks, you can please provide them. I had a nice time with you, Prabhasji. Same here. Hmm. Thank you, Ms. Shreya. I don't have to apologize for anything. Perfect, and teaching is super duper. Thank you so much for your valuable lectures, Puja. Thank you. You too. Been really participative. Thank you, Ms. Menaka Kumari. Okay, we can conclude the session now. Thank you, everyone.